Still going. Kia ora, my friends. I've got another one of these non-fiction books. As you can see, I'm in my different studio. So when you see this, you'll know that it's a real story or a real fact book that I'm going to be reading to you. Today, we are going to look from egg to bee, and it's produced by Camilla de Bedoyer, and it's a QE2 publication. Let's find out the story of a bee. Many bees live together in one home. Their home is called a hive. There is one queen bee in a hive. She lays eggs. When an egg hatches, a larva comes out. A larva grows into an adult bee. It is called a pupa during this stage. So here we can see a bee's egg is tiny. It is about 1 millimetre long. You might like to have a look at a ruler and see how small that is. So there it is there. That's the egg. Soon each egg will grow into a larva. So that's number 1 is the egg. Number 2 is the larva. The story of how an egg grows into an adult bee is called a life cycle. A pupa grows wings and legs. So that's the third stage, is a pupa. An adult bee looks very different to a larva. Look, there it is there. So from 1, 2, 3 and 4. In the hive. Many thousands of bees can live in one hive. The queen lays all the eggs in a hive. She can lay thousands of eggs in her lifetime. Most bees in a hive are worker bees. They are all females. Worker bees look after the hive and the eggs and collect food. So here is a queen. A queen can live for 4 or 5 years. Wow, it's a long time for a bee, isn't it? Worker bees build honeycomb inside the hive. It is made of wax and is full of holes called cells. This is where the eggs and honey are stored. Drones are male bees. They have fatter bodies than the worker bees. Some of the drones will mate with the queen. That's a drone. Each cell will be filled with either honey or an egg. So here you can see over here the cells. Laying the eggs. In spring, the queen bee mates with drones. The drones fertilise her eggs. The worker bees have built wax cells for the eggs. The queen bee lays each egg in a cell. The queen makes a special glue. She sticks the egg inside its cell. There, very tiny, is the egg inside the cell. Most cells have just one egg inside them. And there's our beautiful queen bee. She's very precious. 3 days later, each egg hatches into a tiny white larva. The queen bee can lay hundreds of eggs every day. Each wax cell has a hexagon shape. It has 6 sides. And here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a hexagon. And the larvae are inside each of these cells, growing and eating. The worker bees fill the larva with pollen and nectar. The larvae grow bigger. Soon they are ready to change into adult bees. The larvae are still inside their wax cells. After feeding, the workers put a cap on top of every cell to close it. That gives it protection. The workers make sure every larva has enough food. So if you look closely, you can see some of them have got caps on them and some of them haven't. If it's got a cap on it, it's called a closed cell. Inside each closed cell, the larva changes into an adult bee. A bee is called a pupa while it makes this change. As the pupa grows, it looks more like a bee. You can see it changing its shape. A bee appears. 10 days later, an adult bee comes out of the wax cell. It looks different from the larva. Each bee has 6 legs and 4 wings. It has large eyes and a hairy body. Worker bees have stings, but drones do not. The bee eats away the cap on its cell so it can climb out. You can see it just in there, and it's starting to eat the cap on the cell. The bee has large eyes to find flowers. There are 2 long feelers on the bee's head. 1, 2. A honeybee has yellow and black stripes on its body. That's how you tell it's a honeybee. Busy bees. Most of the new bees are worker bees. They have busy lives. Worker bees collect pollen and nectar from flowers. Yellow pollen is collected in pollen baskets. The bees take it back to the hive. So a worker bee has pollen baskets on its legs. When the bee visits a flower, the baskets fill up with pollen and they're just on their leg there. Bees have a strong tongue. They use it to suck nectar from flowers. If you look very closely, you can see the long tongue coming out. Worker bees use the nectar to make honey in the honeycomb. In the hive, worker bees are busy cleaning and feeding the larvae. Oh, that's something I didn't know. The worker bees help to clean the larvae and feed them. Wow, that's something I learnt just by reading a book. How bees live. Some bees live in the wild. Other bees live in special hives. Wild bees build nests in trees, roofs or walls of buildings. Beekeepers build hives for their bees. They collect the honey and the wax that the bees have made. And here is a beekeeper. He's wearing a special outfit. I wonder what that would be for. Have a think. Beekeepers wear special suits so that the bees cannot sting them. Were you right? And there's the hive. This is the honeycomb. Beekeepers take honeycomb from the hive. It is full of sweet honey. Yum. We eat the honey. We use beeswax in makeup, food, candles and shoe polish. I did not know that. A new queen. A hive may become too small for all the bees that live in it. When this happens, it is time to make a new hive. The queen bee leads the bees out of the old hive. They fly to a new place to build a new hive. So the bees are ready to fly away, and they are now called a swarm. So there's a hive, a natural looking hive in a tree. In the old hive, the larvae have grown into adults. A new queen leaves her cell. She takes over the old hive and the life cycle begins again. The queen cell is bigger than the other cells. The queen climbs out of her cell and the workers will clean her. There she is. And we're at the end of our book. But we've got our glossary up here, and that tells us about some different words and where we might find them in the book, but also what they might mean. So I'm going to look up life cycle. Don't forget, it's in alphabetical order. A life cycle is the story of how a living thing changes from birth to death and has young. Wow. And if I go down to here and look for life cycle, I find that I could have reference to it on page 7, page 21 and page 22. So there's page 22. 21 is just before it. Oh look, and there we have the life cycle. The word life cycle is actually written on the page. Every time that you find a word here on the glossary that you'd like to find out more about, you can find it on the index over here. Isn't that cool? Hey, I hope you've enjoyed reading about bees and from egg to bee with me. Until next time, ka kite.